Indiana Newsdesk is made possible in part by Smithville Fiber Internet, streaming TV, home security and automation in Southern Indiana. More information at smithville.com. Mallard Grodner Attorneys, providing legal services to clients and the community. Understanding, expertise, results. Bloomington and Indianapolis. lawmg.com. IU Alumni Association, connecting IU's network of alumni and sharing the Indiana spirit through scholarships, advocacy, and volunteerism. alumni.iu.edu. IU Center for Rural Engagement, extending IU Bloomington resources to improve Hoosier lives in partnership with communities and organizations. rural.indiana.edu. And by WTIU members. Thank you.
Coming up on Indiana Newsdesk. A year into President Trump's trade war with China, we check in with Hoosier farmers to see where they stand.
So I appreciate the intellectual or the trying to protect the intellectual property and a lot of the other things that they're doing to try to keep the Chinese government in check.
After 2 more mass shootings this month, the nation continues to grapple with how to implement new gun laws. And as students head back to class, some parents are shocked at high costs that come with the public education.
It's never easy for us to pay. I mean, it's always before Christmas that bill comes in, and I don't have that extra money at that time.
Those stories, plus the latest news headlines from across the state, right now on Indiana Newsdesk. Welcome to Indiana Newsdesk. I'm Joe Wren. Well, it's been more than a year now since the U.S. trade conflict with China began. The tariffs have hit everything from cars to lumber. Farmers are also caught in the crossfire. Reporter Brock Turner has more on how Republican lawmakers are shifting their rhetoric and trying to hold the support of farmers.
David Myers has been farming this land in Decatur County for generations. He supported President Donald Trump in 2016 and serves on the Ag Committee for Indiana Senator Mike Braun. Tariffs and seasons like these might not be helping his balance sheets, but Myers says he has no intent of supporting another candidate in 2020.
In my opinion, the president is doing exactly the right thing. China and other countries of the world, but particularly China, has taken advantage of us being the United States, for so long, and somebody needed to put a stop to it.
Myers admits this season has been hard for Hoosier farmers, but says he understands and appreciates the tough negotiating tactics President Trump is using with the Chinese government.
I have contacted a lot of people throughout the state, a lot of farmers throughout the state, and I've never heard anyone say that Trump's not doing the right thing. And I sincerely believe that he is. Is it painful in the short term? Yes, it is. But long term, we're going to be a lot better off.
And that's a sentiment that Indiana Farmers Union President James Benham believes too.
They're probably not as optimistic as they were at one point in time. I think they feel that supportive. They know that China's been a problem for us to deal with for many generations.
But Republicans who have traditionally benefited from the support of farmers are starting to face tough questions after what many describe as a perfect storm. Zach Kane is a corn and soybean farmer in Montgomery County. About a quarter of his land is unplanted because of flooding this spring. He says the recent market declines are making him sweat.
While they are a good outlet as far as a place that needs a lot of our commodities, they've never been good trade partners.
The United States Department of Agriculture is set to distribute about $14.5 billion to farmers later this year as direct incentives for what the department calls, quote, unjustified retaliation. About a quarter of Kane's ground is not eligible for those payments because he was unable to plant it. Before he was elected to U.S. Senate in 2018, Braun spoke about how he planned to lead on the issue of tariffs.
I trust President Trump. He knows the significance, especially here in Indiana, of the farm community and other places that are feeling the short-term pain that cannot develop into chronic pain or long-term.
But Braun and other Republicans are beginning to shift their rhetoric. They're preparing farmers for a long conflict.
President Trump has been there to help farmers get through it with soybeans, and I think that will continue. So I think it's going to be longer rather than shorter. I just try to say things honestly and hoping that there is some breakthrough. I just don't sense that's going to happen.
I appreciate that someone's holding them in check. Unfortunately, it's bleeding my bottom line. So I don't know whether to be happy, sad, mad. I don't know whether, 2 years from now this is all going to play out in a good trade deal where, we've got a great market for our crops, or whether it's just going to keep spiraling down. I don't know that.
But experts say Brazil, Argentina, and other nations have already started to produce more soybeans, and those markets won't easily return.
This will be a question of survival for many, particularly, but not only smaller farmers. And I must say, when I look at this, I'm almost heartbroken, and it's difficult from a rational perspective, and it's difficult for a professor of economics to understand that this group that is clearly a victim of the current policies supports the people who are in charge and responsible for those policies. It's irrational.
But I don't think it's the economist to say what's in the mind of the farmer. That bothers me, because he's saying farmer's not going to vote in his best interest. He's going to vote. Farmers are very patriotic, and they're going to vote for what's best for this country, not some radical idea that somebody has that a percentage of the population likes because they're going to get a benefit out of it.
Hausgret says he expects things will continue to get worse for farmers, and that the short-term benefits of subsidies will not make up for the long-term damage done to the market. Benham says many farmers are realistic. He believes most understand the ramifications of a trade war. He says they remain faithful to President Trump because it's the only hope they believe there is.
I haven't heard the first Democrat come out and really say something, I've got a plan. If you elect me, we're going to do this for agriculture. I haven't heard that. And so why would anybody in my industry then go jumping at a rally someplace for a party that's not really digging down deep and saying, look, folks, we're going to have to spend another $10 billion on farm industry to keep these people in business.
And that's something that remains on the mind of Zach Kane.
But it's just years like this that really test you, just the stress and then the financial ramifications of, can we keep the lights on for another year?
For Indiana Newsdesk, I'm Brock Turner.
Several 2020 Democratic presidential hopefuls have submitted proposals on how to grow the farm economy and increase net farm incomes, though the topic has not been a main talking point for the party yet. Well, Moms Demand Action and other gun control activists from across Indiana gathered at the State House last weekend. Their message: state and federal policymakers must pass legislation to reduce gun violence. During remarks, Indianapolis Mayor Joe Hogsett signed the Mayors Against Illegal Guns Statement of Principles from the gun control advocacy group Everytown.
So to our neighbors in El Paso and Dayton and all other communities affected across America, to the friends and families of every victim, to the survivors, to the first responders, Indianapolis, Indiana now stands with you.
The statement adds Indianapolis to a coalition of more than 1,000 cities and towns across the U.S. actively working to address gun safety across political parties. And a recent poll found that most people in the U.S. support laws that allow family members or law enforcement to ask a judge to remove guns from someone thought to be a risk to themselves or others. Now, that poll was taken before the deadly shootings in El Paso, Texas and Dayton, Ohio that took place early this month. The laws known as red flag laws are back in the public discussion as the nation struggles to deal with gun violence. And you might be surprised to find that Indiana is among the 17 states that already have a red flag law on the books. With us to talk about the issue is Professor of Law at Maurer School of Law, Jody Madeira. Jody, thank you so much for joining us today. I want to start with that study that I just mentioned. A majority of Americans support national red flag laws, and we have a little graphic here to better understand it. With all the support, though, why has there been no movement, though, on the subject?
I think sometimes people feel that if they give an inch that the gun control movement will take a mile. And honestly, although red flag laws have wide support, so do universal background checks. So it's hardly the only issue we've seen no movement on.
So let's talk about conservative Indiana. How does Indiana have a law like this in the books?
So it took a very unfortunate incident to get us there. So in 2004, there was an officer by the name of Jake Laird who was shot on active duty, and he was shot by a guy named Kenneth Anderson. And Anderson had been treated, evaluated on an emergency basis and released. And the Indianapolis Police Department had seized his guns. And when he was released, they had no legal authority to keep them. And so they had to give them back. And months later, he shot Jake Laird.
So this has been in the books in Indiana for about a decade.
Yes.
So how often are these laws invoked? How often does this happen?
So in 2017, it was invoked 46 times across the state, but from 2006 to 2013, it was invoked 406 times in Marion County alone. So I would say fairly often. We're making good use of it, but we could probably make better use of it.
Yeah. So is there any way or study to measure the effectiveness of this law?
Yeah, so there was a study that came out in 2018 of laws and Indiana was one of the states that was considered, and the author noticed that it was a 7.5% reduction in suicide. So it has had an effect, and who knows how many lives it has saved by removing guns from dangerous individuals.
Yeah. So now we mentioned that someone could actually get their guns returned to them. Can you walk us through that process a little bit about how does that happen? Safely, of course.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, to seize the guns, you either need to show that someone is an imminent risk of harm to themselves or others. And there's also, and this is a unique feature of Indiana law, they can show that there's going to be a risk in the future, either because they don't take mental health medication or there's documented evidence of a reasonable belief that they will be a violent risk. And so when the time comes to return their weapons, then if it's done fairly quickly, it has to be done within 5 days. For example, if the court finds that there's no evidence, but if there is evidence, then the person can petition after 180 days, and that due process is very important.
Interesting. Jody, thank you very much for being here.
Thank you.
Now for headlines, we go over to Barbara Brozier, who has the latest on this week's top stories.
Thanks, Joe. A recently opened South Bend clinic that performs abortions gets to stay open after a federal appeals court ruling issued this week. The decision says the clinic should continue operating as if it has a provisional license, allowing the state to regulate the clinic but not block it from opening or simply shut it down. This week's ruling is the latest in the legal battle that's been ongoing since 2017. There will again be 2 farmers markets in Bloomington this weekend. The alternative location is at Blooming Foods East on Saturday, as it has been for the past several weeks. It's being called the East Side Farmers Market. Mayor John Hamilton said all but 3 vendors returned to the downtown market last Saturday following a 2-week hiatus. Hamilton says increased security measures implemented last weekend will continue for the next few weeks. The state is working to recover more than $40 million after an audit found the Indiana Virtual School and the Indiana Virtual Pathways Academy exaggerated enrollment for 3 years. Daleville School District is expected to close both, but the virtual school's attorneys told Daleville officials this week they jumped the gun, and new documents give more data and context.
There were no miscalculations, none. And that in fact there were always more students enrolled than they were getting paid for.
Daleville's superintendent says he'll review the new data. The final audit results will go to the state attorney general's office to possibly seek money from the schools and to county prosecutors if suspected criminal wrongdoing is found. For the second time in 2 weeks, a Northwest Indiana steel company has dumped toxins into a Lake Michigan tributary. U.S. Steel reported the discharge in the Burns waterway early this week. The company is working to find the source of the discharge, and the Indiana Department of Environmental Management is investigating. And last week, another company, ArcelorMittal, took responsibility for the release of cyanide and ammonia at higher than permitted levels. It caused the death of thousands of fish and closures of some of the beaches at Indiana Dunes National Park. Activists rallied against the high cost of prescription drugs outside of Senator Todd Young's office this week. They want him to push for lower drug prices. They asked for Young to sign on as a co-sponsor of the Prescription Drug Pricing Reduction Act, moving through Congress right now. Dr. Kana McHugh says many of her patients struggle to fill their prescriptions.
I can't always tell if my patients' prescriptions will be covered. I never can tell them how much it will cost. That is wrong.
The proposal would cap Medicare costs, penalize drug companies if prices rise too fast, and force discount transparency. Young's office hasn't responded to a request for comment. 6th District Congressman Greg Pence met with farmers this week during a closed-door meeting in Shelbyville. The congressman says he heard from farmers on issues ranging from immigration to tariffs and trade. Pence says he trusts President Donald Trump to take care of farmers and mitigate their potential losses.
It's really up to the administration to kind of lead and tell us where they're going to go next. And it's our oversight, Congress's oversight responsibility to kind of monitor that.
Pence says he's just started hearing the concerns of farmers and plans to champion those concerns. There are new allegations from the women suing Attorney General Curtis Hill and the state over accusations Hill groped them last year. A new court filing claims one of the women reported unwelcome and inappropriate advances by a male member of the General Assembly to House leaders this past spring. 3 staffers say they were each approached by senior legislative staff who pressured them to talk about the ongoing lawsuit without their attorneys present. Spokespeople for the House Democratic and Republican caucuses, as well as the Senate Republican caucus, all declined to comment. And Loretta Rush will continue to serve as Chief Justice of the Indiana Supreme Court for another 5 years. The state's Judicial Nominating Commission officially reappointed her this week. Rush talked about where she wants to continue to focus: bail reform, the opioid epidemic, and ensuring people are represented by a lawyer in court.
I think, with boldness to go out and look for out-of-the-box answers to really serve 6.5 million people that call Indiana home.
Rush has been Chief Justice since 2014, and Joe, a lot of her priorities are things that legislators are going to talk about during upcoming summer study committees.
Sure, Barbara, thank you very much. Coming up next on Indiana Newsdesk, we look at the possibility of catching Lyme disease, whether it's out hiking or in your own backyard. And with students back in the classroom, some parents are struggling with the high cost of textbooks. These stories and more right here on Indiana Newsdesk.
The WTIU WFIU news team connects Indiana to the world. We bring you the top news of the day on radio, TV, and online. We round up the stories that have people talking each week and dig deep into the issues that affect your community the most. The WTIU WFIU news team is where you are and telling your story.
In a time of change, where can you find in-depth reporting and thoughtful analysis? Washington Week on PBS. Join moderator Robert Costa.
When I was at the Capitol this week, I encountered the same.
And a panel of award-winning journalists.
You're seeing a divided nation, and you're seeing.
For insights and perspective.
Tonight there was a key development in the Senate.
You won't find anywhere else.
What a week.
Washington Week.
Welcome back to Indiana Newsdesk. Well, deer are just a part of life in Bloomington, where they're often seen grazing in lawns or strolling down a city street. As part of our City Limits Bloomington series, Tyler Lake looks into a question about the ticks that catch a ride on deer and whether they are carrying Lyme disease.
One curious Bloomingtonian wondered this. Given the number of deer hanging around in my yard, I wonder about deer ticks and the frequency of Lyme disease in Bloomington. A lot of folks in Bloomington complain about the deer in the city, but they may not realize they could be helping to draw them in.
In some urban areas, we actually have a larger deer population than we have in what people would consider more natural habitat.
He says much of what makes a lawn inviting to people also lures in animals.
Of course, we like flowers, we like landscaping, those types of things. And deer like that as well, and so that will often attract deer to properties.
But it's not just deer that ticks use to catch a ride.
Chipmunks, squirrels, and all of these other things. If they are very comfortable on a private property, then chances are there might be ticks on those property.
He says there are 3 common tick types in the area, and while they all carry pathogens, only the deer tick carries Lyme disease.
The one that's of most concern is Lyme, because oftentimes most people who have the Lyme organism They get treated, some get better, but others suffer post-treatment Lyme disease syndrome that they might have to live with for a long time.
Those health issues can linger for years and be difficult to diagnose. But Amodior says there are a few precautions you can take if you head out into the wild.
Wear long pants, tuck those pants into socks, and make sure that you wear clothing that is bright colored and light. And the simple logic behind bright colored clothing is if there are ticks climbing on them, it's easier for somebody to spot and then pick off before they move around and then settle somewhere.
He emphasizes using insect repellent and checking yourself regularly while out in the woods. And if you're worried about encountering ticks on your own property, Amodior says there are steps you can take there too. He recommends clearing wood piles, leaf litter, any place cool and protected from the sun where ticks can thrive. He also points out a simpler way to reduce the threat of a tick encounter.
If you mow your property regularly, that means you keep the lawn clean. Ticks are not likely to be on your property.
He does offer some good news.
They have to find a suitable spot, and then they have to attach using a cement substance they secrete, and then they take a blood meal. And in most cases, this takes several hours.
He says if you find a tick on your skin that hasn't attached itself, you most likely don't have to worry about disease transmission. But if you do find one embedded in your skin, gently remove it with tweezers and put it in a plastic bag.
The first thing is you go to your primary care physician, and they could give a prophylactic dose of doxycycline.
And Amodior says it's something we'll have to think about more in the future, as the planet warms and humans intrude ever deeper into the tick's natural habitat. For Indiana Newsdesk, I'm Tyler Lake.
Schools are back in session across much of the state, and those back-to-school expenses can add up for parents. There's school supplies, clothes, maybe a new backpack or gym shoes. Then around the time many parents receive their kids' first report card, another expense, a bill for textbook fees. Indiana is one of only a handful of states that charges for books, and as Adam Pinsker reports, advocates continue to push for the state to foot the bill.
Keeping the house clean and looking after her family can be a bit of a challenge for Jenny Robinson.
So I have 3 kids. One's in elementary school. She'll be a 5th grader. Then I'll have a rising 7th grader, and I'll have a 10th grader.
But managing the textbook fees for her children is never an easy task.
It's never easy for us to pay. I mean, it's always before Christmas that bill comes in, and I don't have that extra money at that time.
Last year, she paid $430 total for all 3 of her children. For decades, the state has mandated the school districts foot the bill for curriculum.
The state mandates that you purchase curricular materials and then charge a rental fee to family students in order to recoup those costs.
And those who don't pay the bill on time are sent to collections. District officials say after a certain amount of time, half of the money from the unpaid bill goes to the collection agency. Monroe County Schools Director of Business Operations John Kenny says the number of accounts sent to collections decreased by about 400 from this year to last year.
I think it can be more awareness, a little more diligence in making sure we're communicating that the bills are due.
But Robinson says school districts shouldn't be put in the position of being bill collectors in the first place.
To me, it's just a travesty that we're not fully funding education, that we're leaving textbooks, and which now really basically means instructional materials and curriculum, just out of the cost equation.
But the chair of Indiana's House Education Committee, Bob Baining, says Indiana's constitutional guarantee of a free education doesn't include certain fees levied at the local level.
Seldom do you hear parents complain about the fees that are associated with lab fees. There's also fees that are charged for athletics.
Baining says Indiana's constitution also mandates the state's budget be balanced. The budget already includes $39 million each year to pay for students' families who can't afford the textbook fees. If the state has to pay for all curriculum fees, it could mean less money for other areas of education.
Frankly, I try to spend a lot more of my time trying to focus on how we can drive more money to teachers. And if the state would agree to pay for textbooks, that cost then is additional money that would not be available to teacher salaries.
The digit, what
Representative Baining says Louisiana uses open sources for their curriculum, which are usually materials that are a lot cheaper than traditional textbooks.
2 + 2 is always equal 4, and so there's books that, textbooks, I assume, that are out of copyright that would be available.
It's always a work in progress.
But for Robinson, who is also chair of the Monroe County chapter of Indiana Coalition for Public Education, the fees are a slap in the face to Hoosier families struggling to make ends meet.
I think there's a reluctance to fully fund education. And I think there's a sense that maybe, families need to step up and pay.
For Indiana Newsdesk, I'm Adam Pinsker.
And that's the end of this program, but our work continues online as we cover the news throughout the week at WTIUnews.org. Have a great weekend.
Indiana Newsdesk is made possible in part by Smithville Fiber Internet, streaming TV, home security and automation in Southern Indiana. More information at smithville.com. Maller Grodner Attorneys, providing legal services to clients and the community. Understanding, expertise, results. Bloomington and Indianapolis. lawmg.com. IU Alumni Association, connecting IU's network of alumni and sharing the Indiana spirit through scholarships, advocacy, and volunteerism. alumni.iu.edu. IU Center for Rural Engagement, extending IU Bloomington resources to improve Hoosier lives in partnership with communities and organizations. rural.indiana.edu. And by WTIU members. Thank you.